Good morning, students of ethnicity and American literature. This is Mr. Lelinski coming to you once again from my office. You'll notice today I am in my Brewers gear, in my road blue Robin Yount jersey for the Empress Crown check-in for your favorite baseball team. My favorite baseball team is the Milwaukee Brewers, and Robin Yount is the greatest Brewer ever to have lived. He is a two-time most valuable player. He won the award for playing at two different positions, shortstop and center field. He's the 17th player to have 3,000 hits in Major League Baseball history, and he is a member of the Hall of Fame. And I believe he was the most valuable player of the 1982 American League Championship Series. I have to double check that, but I think he was. It's possible that it was Raleigh Fingers, now that I think about it. Just to show you guys a little bit more of my Brewers gear, I have some of my childhood Brewers memorabilia, my Catch the Brewers Fever pennant. You'll notice that the ball and glove logo, the original ball and glove logo, has the seam of the baseball facing a different direction than the revamped logo that is being used starting this year, 2020. I have, and this was displayed in my childhood bedroom, I have my regular Brewers pennant, again, vintage ball and glove logo and Milwaukee Brewers in script. And then I have a couple of cooler pennants. This one hung in my parents' basement for decades. It is a American League Championship pennant from 1982 with the yellow on blue, celebrating their appearance in the World Series. And I have a similar pennant that was my aunt's. It was given to me. Yellow on blue here, another American League Championship 1982, celebrating the Brewers' first, hopefully their first of many in my lifetime appearances in the World Series. So, as you might guess, I am a Brewers baseball fan. You might already know that because in my classroom I have my Brewers Kids Club pennant hanging above my desk. So, but enough on me and baseball. Let's talk a little bit about English 211 and what's coming up this week and in the coming weeks as we move to a close of our virtual learning and a close to our semester. So for the week ahead, let me just navigate to our page here as I try to do that on my Screencast-O-Matic. There we go. Navigate to our bulletin board and show you, first of all, our key objectives for this coming week. You'll notice we've got objectives laid out for the next few weeks, just to show you exactly what needs to happen. So for this week, we will be reading and responding to the play Disgraced by Ayad Akhtar, who is from Brookfield and is actually a friend of one of my good friends out in New York. And he's a pretty big player in the American theater scene. Disgraced actually won the Pulitzer Prize for Best Drama, Best Play in 2014. So that's one of the highest literary awards a writer can achieve is the Pulitzer Prize. That says that the Pulitzer Foundation identified his play as the best play written by an American in 2014 on that particular play. So we'll read scene 1 on Monday. You can see that here. Read scenes 2 and 3 for Wednesday, and finish the play, read scene 4 on Friday. Really, you can finish that play in probably an hour or an hour and a half of reading. It moves very quickly, but I'm asking you to consider scene 1 only for your response to your MyDSHA discussion post Monday, scenes 2 and 3 only for Wednesday, and scene 4 for Friday, okay? Also, with regard to what comes up in week 18 and week 19 of the course, the last 2 weeks we have class together, there are some pretty significant changes, so I'm going to show those to you on our calendar right now. Instead of moving towards a final project that is pretty intensive and requires a lot of face-to-face time between student and teacher, I decided that we might be better off, here we go, going with something a little bit different given our virtual learning situation. So what I'm showing you here now is our calendar, and this is our update for the 2 weeks, for this week and the next 2 weeks. So we have our discussion post or CTR post and response. Oops, that should say just CTR post 6 and 5. I'm sorry about that miscommunication there. We'll treat this like a CTR post. You will post on Wednesday and respond on Friday, and it will go into the writing category of your grade. Next week, you need to read the poem Shelter by Jose Antonio Rodriguez. Post your response to the discussion question on Wednesday, not Thursday, and then post your response to your peers on Friday. And we'll follow the same format for the following week, which will be the last week, when we read one of my absolute favorite poems, poem by former poet laureate of the United States, Juan Felipe Herrera. We'll read the poem on Monday. We will respond to a discussion post on Wednesday, and we will respond to our peers on Friday. Also, ladies, please notice that there is a reading quiz for each of these poems, and the poem is linked inside of that quiz, and it should also be linked inside of these discussion posts so you can see the poem when you are reading and responding to it. The reading quiz will be brief for each of these. You'll be writing a paragraph for each. You will not be answering multiple questions. So it's a little bit more open-ended, but there still is a prompt to which you need to respond. Just check my notes here to make sure I didn't miss anything on that. You'll notice that there's no mention of presentations. These 2 weeks, we are totally doing away with the presentation assignment. Also, please be aware that we are kind of moving off of using topics at this point in time because there's not much for us to include in the topics. And even for A Flawless Silence, all we had was a link to the story. You'll be moving more into assignments for what's going on here and using these as your baseline for what we're doing. So really, for English 211, we're just looking at bulletin board with everything laid out in your announcements. The calendar is a really important thing. And then also we look at assignments, and that's where you dig into what it is you need to do on a daily basis, okay? For the final, you'll see I don't title this final exam. It does go in the exam category because that's the name of that grade category, so it will still count for the same amount, but it's really going to be more of a course reflection. It will only cover the material that we have looked at during our virtual learning period, and it'll be much less formal than a regular essay. So be advised that that's where we're going with our final. I'm trying to be understanding of our virtual learning environment and respectful and responsive to, kind of our collective needs as a community right now, which is why we are going in this direction for our reflective piece at the end of the semester. It's low stakes. It's going to be a pretty forgiving assessment, but it still will count for a portion of the grade. So let's make sure that we treat that with the amount of respect that it deserves. Okay? And with that, ladies, I want to remind you, make sure that you get outside. Make sure that you practice appropriate social distancing. It's the way to get through this time that we are in this world. And take care of yourselves, take care of each other virtually, and I hope to see you and talk with you soon. Take care.